Hello and welcome everyone. It's Shanna and it's Christmas in July, day 2, and we are working with the large die of the month from Spellbinders. And we've got kind of a wonky looking Christmas tree. We've got a Santa and we've got an elf, and we have the packaging that shows you which dies go with which and how to assemble it. So I'm going to show you the wonky Christmas tree first, and I've got all of my pieces in my little tray here. And this is what the pieces to the tree look like. There are 2 dies, one is larger and one is smaller, and you basically use 1 layer of the larger die and 2 of the smaller to create your tree. And so I'm just laying them out here. We're going to create this tree. We're not going to use this tree. I had some fun playing with this die, and I made my tree a little bit more interesting. So I wanted to go ahead and show you how they designed it to be assembled, so that's what we're going to do here. I'm just going to layer them up and just kind of give you a feel for how they designed the set to be assembled. It's basically supposed to run off the top and the bottom of your panel. So I'll just kind of bring in a panel here and show you, it's kind of run off like that. Now I glued them a little bit tighter together so it would be a little bit longer. But anyway, this is what I did with mine. I took more layers. I don't know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers there. And I trimmed it to where my tree would come to a point where it would look more like, it would fit on the panel and it would look more like the top of the tree. So that's what I did. And now I'm just going to get to assembling our Santa and our elf and get all of our little bits and pieces together. And I'll just kind of step through our process. So I'm just going to lay everything out there and we will just get to assembling these. Now this is the face to the Santa. I think I've got most of his pieces there, not all of them. We've got another arm, some legs, some boots, stuff like that. And here's the face to the Santa. So here is the face, and then it's got a die that die cuts out just this strip, like a half oval or something, and you can just put it behind there, and then you can make his eyes dark. Now his eyebrows, they are going to be white because he's got a white beard from this little piece here. This piece here is what goes behind the face, and it also creates the white on the hat, like the fluff on the hat. And so I'm just going to get his little head laid down on here, and he looks kind of weird until he gets his beard and his mustache added, but he'll come together. So now we're going to just layer him up on his hat, and you can see that white around the top of his head makes it look like the brim of his hat. So we'll get it laid down on there and just give it a little bit of a press. Clean off my tweezers because they're getting nice and gluey. And then next we're going to add his beard, and you need to get his beard kind of tucked up around his ears. And so I'm just kind of checking it out. We'll get a little glue on there, and we're just going to tuck this big beard just kind of up around his ears and just kind of under the detail that they've provided on his face for the mustache and the nose. There's good debossed detail on everything so that you know where everything goes. Just give it a good press. And then I have got some Best Ever craft tape, and I've got multiple pieces in that tray. And I've got all my little tiny, tiny bits and pieces that I don't want to lose attached to that tape. So there are 2 little cheeks, and actually there are 4 cheeks. The bigger ones go on the Santa and the smaller ones go on the elf. And then we've got a nose, but I'm going to lay that aside for now because I need to get his mustache laid down before I put his nose on him. And so I'm just going to take his little mustache, we'll put a little dab of glue on there, and we'll get it laid down. And then you'll be able to put his nose in the position that it needs to go in. So I'll just grab my piece of tape and just grab his little nose, and we will get some glue on there and get it laid down. And his little face is coming together. So I'm just lining the nose up, trying to get it in position where I like it. And there we go, isn't that cute? Cute little Santa face. So next we're going to get to, there's detail on this where his beard goes. It shows you like his chin and then the beard, and then there's another place for the additional arm. And then this is the piece that covers up the pockets, the buttons, and adds the trim to the waist of his jacket. And so I'll just get it lined up on there. There's nice detail. And just get it laid on there, and there we go. just getting it lined up just how I want it. And there's his jacket. Now we've got his little arm that we've got to get on there, but we need to lay his beard on there first. I saw the little button to his, actually it's a like little puff ball that goes on his Santa hat. And I'm looking for my handicraft tools with my wax pickup so that I can get it laid down on there. Now I'm just going to put some glue there where his beard goes, and I'll just line the beard up with the detail that is on there. And it'll get his beard just positioned just correctly. Now I've got to dig around and find his arm. I know there's an arm in there. So there, we've got it. So we'll just line this up right next to his beard. I'm trying to clean off any little die cut hairs that are on there. And now we've got his little arm. So he is pretty much assembled with the exception of his legs, and then he needs gloves and he needs boots is what he needs. So here's his little legs. Santa's legs are longer than the elf's legs, so that's how you can tell what you're doing. Now I'm going to assemble the elf, and man, he has got some ears. These ears are huge. They're hysterical. And his hair is just a trip. So this is a little piece that you can put behind his eyebrows because he's got some pretty good eyebrows. And I've chosen this red cinnamon color. It's Sicily is what it is, but I thought he was going to be a little redhead, and he's got little red eyebrows. And the hair on this is also a trip. Now this piece here is for the face. It's for the mouth and eye area. And I just die cut it out in the scrap that I had. And I'm just going to put some black marker on there and fill in the eyes, and I'll bring in a pink. First I bring in this light, and it's not light enough, so I'll bring in a second. And that's really too dark, but it'll work out all right. It's kind of a fuchsia. It's just what was near me. I should have got a different color, but it worked out. It actually came together. And so we'll lay this down, and this will fill in his eyes and his mouth area. And next I'm going to bring that tape in that has the cheeks on it again. And his are the smaller cheeks, and his nose is much smaller as well. And so we'll get those laid down on there. I'm going to bring in my wax tool to pick up that piece. That's his nose, and we'll get it laid down on there. And then get it straightened up. Give it a good press. And then we'll get his little cheeks. And you can tell whose is whose because his features are smaller than Santa's features, so. But anytime I've got these little tiny bits like this, I try to use the craft tape because if not, inevitably I'll lose a nose or a cheek or something like that. I've got other pieces in there with the kind of the fluff to their gloves. Now this is his hair. It is a trip. It just sticks up. It's like 3 strands of hair that sticks up, and it goes right on the top of his head there. And then his hat actually has detail that shows you how to line the hair up on the hat, so you'll know exactly how to position it. Now it is Christmas in July, but it is a summer or spring in Indiana. I'm doing this early, and we are having a spring storm. So you might hear some rain and some rumbling in the background. So there we go. He's got his little dab of hair on there, and I think that hair is hysterical. So I'm just still cleaning off the bits. This is where it shows you the hair, where you line it up. And so you can just get it perfectly lined up. The sun is shining, so, oh, and I can see a rainbow out my craft window. I'm going to have to pause and take a better look at that. Hold on. So I just stepped outside my window, and I snapped a quick picture of it and thought I would pop it in there for you so you can check it out. So anyway, it's still pretty cloudy and dark, but that's just right out my back window. So here is our little elf with his little hat. We've got his little outfit, and it's got a nice little mark there so that you know where to put his chin. And so I'll just get some glue laid down on there and give him a little press, and we've got his little jacket on there, and then we're ready to start embellishing his little outfit. So super cute, but those ears, are they not huge or what? I'm still watching my rainbow, so if I sound distracted, I'm still watching it. The sun's coming out, and it's getting a little bit brighter. Maybe I could have got a better picture, but anyway, I'm going to lay the color down on his jacket, and you can just line it up perfectly. There's a little spot right here that I'm working with that helps you to get it just in the right position. Cute. Now this little piece here has got 2 little buttons on it, and you can just glue it up and it'll fill in the buttons on his jacket. Now, I probably could have used a different color, but I had die cut it out in white, so I went with it. He's gonna have a belt and a buckle, so there we go. Super cute. Now he has another little hand that is kind of etched into the outfit, and you'll just add a glove there over that, and it will represent his hand. Now this is his little belt, and I've used red for it, and I'm just going to get it laid down on there. And I realized that I didn't have the little embellishment for the buckle area for it, and I'll have to pause and go off camera and die cut it out. And I also realized I didn't have the gloves and the boots, so I had to die cut those out as well. And so I'm looking and I'm like, I don't have it. So I'm going to have to pause and go get them. So I paused the camera and I went and I die cut all of those out. And now we're going to get his little gold belt on his little jacket. And there we go. And next I'm going to bring in his little gloves. I wanted red gloves for him because he's got the green outfit. So I'm going to put red gloves on him. And he's going to have green pants too, so I'll put red boots on him as well. And then Santa's going to get black gloves and black boots. And so I'm just going to grab the glove and get it laid on there. Now, it will tuck right underneath his little decorative collar, but I didn't put glue on the edge of it, so I can just tuck it right in there. And then the other arm is laying there kind of on his waist near his belt, and so I'll just bring in the next glove, and we'll get the little white to the glove laid down on there, which I've got stuck on the craft tape again. And then we'll get that little glove laid down on him. And I can still see the rainbow. The arch that I am able to see is not quite as big as it was, but it's still there. So here's his green pants, and I'm going to put his little red boots on there. Now his boots are like short boots, and then you add the cuff to it. But Santa's boots are full boots that have the cuff on them. So you can basically tell all the elements from the scale of it. Like I said, even the boots, they're different. So I'm just going to get them laid down on there, and then I'm going to put the whites. And maybe the elf didn't need the white little ruffles on his, maybe his were just shoes, but I chose to put the little white elements on there as well. In the picture on the instructions on how you assemble them, I don't think they give him a little white ruffle on his boot, but I'm going to give it. So we'll just press it down and get it on there. I'm not going to assemble the legs yet. I was on the fence as to whether or not I was going to tuck them behind the tree like it shows in the picture on the packaging, or if I was going to make the legs wobble or shuffle, I guess, Mary shuffle. And so I didn't assemble them onto either one of them yet until I'm ready to do what I'm going to do. But I am going to make them shuffle. Anytime you've got a little interactive element, you want to use it. So we're going to get Santa's gloves on there, and he's got black gloves with little white trim. And we'll give it a press. Now, like I said, I'm doing these videos well in advance of the release date just because I have an upcoming trip, and I wanted to make sure I had everything done and in time. So I'm ahead of schedule. So today I had 5 kids again. Only I had a different mix of kids. I had 3 of my grandkids and 2 of my sister's grandkids. So it's been a busy week. I had 5 of them yesterday. It was a busy day. And then today I had 5. But they all did really well. Gunner's still doing really well from his surgery, so that's great. And tomorrow I'll be back to just all 5 of my grandkids. I'm only going to have the older boys for a couple of hours, but they'll have a good time. And they've had so much fun, all of them playing together, so I'm glad they've had an opportunity to do that. But I'm going to be worn out by the time the week's over. So just put a little bit of glue on there so I can bring the cuff to those boots in, and get them laid down on there. I just kind of took my time making this video, so it's a little bit longer. So hopefully you'll stay with me to the end. So there we go. We've got our legs. Now I think we're going to bring in, what am I doing? I'm going to bring in the ornaments. I just used some Raven cardstock, and I die cut out 2 sets of these ornaments because I made 5 layers to my tree instead of 3. And so I thought I was going to need some extra strings of ornaments. So for this, I just used the red that I used on the Santa and the elf, and then I brought in some gold treasured cardstock from Spellbinders. I had some scraps, and I just die cut the balls out, and we're just going to the bulbs. We're going to rotate red, gold, and then gold, red, whatever, and just get all of these laid down on all of our strings, and then we will get to assembling our tree and decorating them. So I cut that out because it's repetitive. I just kept laying those bulbs down on the tree. And I'm just showing you that other tree again, but this is mine that I have layered 5 layers up, and I've kind of angled them and tucked them in tighter and just gave them more interest, and kind of made it look, in my mind, more like a Christmas tree. Anyway, and I'm just going to glue all of these strings of bulbs or lights. I don't know if these are bulbs or lights or whatever. I guess I made them bulbs. I guess they could be red lights and gold lights. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to get them laid down on here and just get our tree all decorated up. And the gold really adds kind of some sparkle to our tree. And we'll bring in some more gold as well. I'm going to bring in the sentiments from the press plate. And I had taken gold foil and foiled with them. So I've got some of these hanging over, and I'm just going to trim them off so we don't have these weird pieces sticking over the edge of our tree. And then we'll have all of our little ornaments on there. And I'm just going to snip off the other side. Now I did go to one of my other die sets. It might have been one of the add-ons, the bonuses, and I grabbed a star out of it. And I created a star for the top of the tree. So I'm going to show you a star. It's not included in the set. I actually brought that in. And I'm going to get my tree laid down on here somehow, something like this, I think. And then we will get our little our Santa and our little elf. I started to say snowman. And get it laid down on there. Here's the little star that I brought in. Like I said, this is not included with the die set, but I wanted to finish off the top of my tree. I'll have to use, I assembled that other tree, I'll have to use it on something else since I did it, and it will represent the actual design that they had in mind, but I'm just going to cut that edge of that star off, and then we're going to kind of position Santa and our elf somewhat like this, trying to get them all to fit on there. It's going to cover up quite a bit of our tree. Now this is, I started to tuck them to show you how they had it, but I've got it glued down too well. But anyway, they kind of had them coming out of the, like peeking around from behind the tree. But I wanted to use these wobble legs. So I've got some really high dimension circles here. I don't really like them, and I generally just use them for these types of things. I got that too close to the edge. I'm going to move it over. So these are really thick, and so I don't like to use them on my cards. But for these wobblers, they work out well. Now, I just stuck him on there, and I didn't put one on his head, so I'm going to have to tuck one behind there because his head's going to get bent if I don't. So I'll just grab one and stick it behind there and give him some additional support. And you can see he's doing the shuffle. He's doing the merry shuffle. And Santa's jealous. He wants to come in and start shuffling around with him too. So I evidently cut that part out, and we've got Santa's shuffled. He's swinging. His legs are really swinging. And so they both are doing the merry shuffle, and I've got them both laid down on the card. So here is the sentiment that I've chosen. It says, "Let the merry begin." And if we've got the merry shuffle, we need to let the merry begin. So I've trimmed that down, and we're going to lay that sentiment down on our card. And then we've got the large die of the month. and we've got some shuffling Christmas characters. So here's a close-up of the picture so you can check it out. If you liked it, consider hitting that like, and if you would have it subscribed, please subscribe. Here's a couple more videos for you to watch.